Hey guys, sorry about that. This is a new phone. I guess it only filmed so long, or I don't know what happened there, but basically we're just gonna wrap it up. And so basically Savannah wants to use the power of the sins to try and get the power of the hero, because he gets the Rock of Eternity, and so Billy gets chosen.
And this is like after a scene where he literally uses the 7 deadly sins to massacre an entire board meeting,
including his brother and father. And basically Billy, eventually becomes Shazam. He says the word and he wakes up in the Shazam body. And I will admit the actor who portrays adult Shazam is very good. He very much portrays Billy being a kid in an adult body.
Yeah.
In fact, they actually make a reference to Big with the piano.
with the little piano. I thought I was the only one who picked up on that at first.
Yeah, no, that was really good. And basically, Billy abuses the power. He basically wants to use it to make money because he's a street urchin. Which annoys Freddy, because Freddy actually wants him to be a superhero.
Yeah.
Because Freddy wishes he could be, because he basically feels like everyone either ignores him or feels bad for him. Because
and this comes up because he basically vents it about halfway through.
Especially because later on, Billy uses the power, he shows off his lightning hands, and he accidentally sends lightning to a bus and causes the bus to go out of control, which he saves, and that's when Savannah appears, and more or less they have a fight. And so, which, of course, Freddy talks to him on camera, which shows Savannah who Billy is. And so Billy...
Which was kind of an ingenious way
because, they're kids. They're not going to be as careful. And there's some really cute scenes, but I'm kind of wrapping this up because I want part 2 to not be too long, because I'm not sure how much time this is going to be on my camera. So sorry about that. And basically, Billy once again tries to run away because he just wants to find his mom, and his brothers and sisters use their amazing hacking skills because they figure out he's Captain Marvel or Shazam. Because
Mary
figures it out because he rescues Mary, and she realizes that he knows way too much about who she is.
Plus, why is Freddy talking to him? Why is he talking to him?
They're arguing like they're an old married couple.
She puts it together in 3 minutes. She's like,
because Mary's actually a smart person. And so, while all this is going on, Shavana has found Freddy, and basically forces Freddy to tell him where everybody is and what's going on. And he realizes that Shazam is in fact a 14-year-old boy. While this is going on, Billy finds his mom, and I will admit this is one of the clever parts, that basically Billy realizes that his mom wasn't as great as she thought he was. His father was in prison. His mom apparently had him at 17, and she just decided, this is a good way to let him go because the police could take better care of him than I would.
Which is awful. I mean, it's really awful. I'm almost kind of grateful they didn't go with the whole "your mom's dead" thing. Yeah, that would have been too convenient a cop out. The way this is portrayed is a lot more heart wrenching, and you really feel bad for the kid because he spent so much of his life trying to find his mom, and his mom basically doesn't want him.
Yeah, and so then he realizes that these people that have taken him in are his real family. And then he finds out Savannah has captured his brothers and sisters, and then he runs through the apartment to get to the top of the apartment. He does this really cool moment where he leaps off the building and shouts, "Shazam!" and he turns into Shazam. And it's really cool. And basically there's a big fight where Shavana leads them to the Rock of Eternity because he wants to use the staff to transfer the power of Shazam into him, because basically he represents the sin of envy and he wants all of the power.
And Billy tries to get through to Savannah, but Savannah's so within the grasp of the sins that he doesn't recognize.
Well, then he's not a good person. He's
not a good person. He's not going to fall for this.
Yeah. And so basically his family shows up, and they manage to hit him with the batarang that Freddy has, which cuts him for a moment, which
Mary's sitting there with a calculus book. Yeah. I'm like, that ain't going to do much.
And the one kid has a lamp.
Yeah, Eugene has a lamp.
They're like, we're his family. We're going to keep throwing things at you until you let him go. And then Billy notices that he got a cut from the batarang, which it turns out basically when he lets all the sins out of his eye, he's no longer powered by the sins, and so he was injured. But when they went back into him, they healed him, and so they get chased around the Rock of Eternity until eventually Shazam realizes that if he concentrates on where he wants to be, he can use the power that the lightning turns him into a person to teleport them out of the Rock of Eternity.
He accidentally teleports him into a strip club he went into earlier. And
I love Mary, because Mary's like, really? That's the and he's
covering the youngest's eye, like, no, you don't need to see this.
Yeah, no, that was actually real. That was really funny. And basically Shavana follows them, And they end up going to a carnival in Philadelphia because it's Christmas in Philadelphia. Because, of course, Philadelphia would. As someone who's a Pennsylvanianer, of course they would.
Yeah, that pun, though. That pun killed me.
But so they end up getting into a fight, and they decide to distract him and basically force Sivana to release all the sins, which would eventually weaken him. And then they could just pluck the eye out of his head. And that's a pretty cool fight, but of course the kids all get captured except for Billy, because they don't have superpowers yet. And so Sivana, tries to do the thing like, you either give me the powers or I kill the little girl. And it looks at first that Billy is going to do it until he remembers something that the wizard said. That if you say my name, my power and the wizards that were with me will come into you.
Unlock your true potential.
And so he realizes that because that there were 7 seats, he can give his power to the others. And so he holds the staff out and they're like, say my name, which was hilarious because they're like, Billy!
No, not that. Name I say to turn to this guy.
And then, of course, they all do a mighty Shazam! And they become the Marvel family. Which a couple of them are new.
Everybody
new
except Freddy and Mary are from characters. The new 52. Mary and Freddy are the ones from the original Fawcett comics.
Mary, of course, being Mary Marvel, which I think she still keeps her name. I think they don't call her Mary Shazam. Yeah. They call her Mary Marvel. And then Freddy, of course, is Captain Marvel Jr., which, of course, they probably just call him Shazam.
Mary's
Jr.
background in this is different as well, plus it's with New 52. In the original Fawcett comics, Mary is actually Billy's long-lost sister. Which they kind of don't do because I'm like,
it's too convenient.
It's too convenient.
Which I'm fine with. I'd rather
it's
Batman.
More realistic
He makes his family, even though he doesesn't get to have a family, he gets to make a family. Which in some ways, people I think
it leads into this awesome fight scene where all of them all of them have a moment where they're like fighting.
And the game kid keeps going like Hadouken and like fatality when he uses his powers, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh my god, you and I both.
And then of course Freddy saves the 2 bullies and he gives them a suitcase wedgie because they gave
it to him earlier in the film.
And so basically Sivana only has one left, and him and Billy fight, and Billy realizes that he was able to figure out all the other ones are wrath and greed and lust, and which I love. He's like, lust is not nearly as hot as I thought it would be.
Which is a reference to New 52. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's also kind of a reference to the anime.
Pride. Pride is the one in the comics as a female. My bad.
And it's also kind of a reference to the anime Full Metal Alchemist, where the homunculus lust is actually really hot.
Yeah.
So he realizes that Sivana actually holds on to envy because that's the sin he represents. And so he keeps making puns about envy until envy pops out of him, which of course causes Sivana to lose his powers. Billy temporarily defeats envy by using the Shazam lightning bolt to strike through him, which causes him to disperse into smoke. And then he realizes Sivana's going to fall off the building, so he Shazams, and then he rescues Sivana. And so basically he goes back to the fair, forcefully plucks the eye out of Sivana's head, which causes the sins to go back into the eye, because they actually can't, much like Shazam, they need a conduit.
They need a host.
They need a conduit themselves, which I think is also a reference to the fact that they're basically Sobek, which is a demon that is much like a demon human hybrid, which much like Shazam is an acronym representing all the demons of hell. Much like how Shazam represents like all these Greek pantheon, like the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, the durability of Achilles, which technically would mean that he's also vulnerable at the heel, but whatever. The lightning of Zeus, I think the wisdom of Athena, or like the cunningness of Athena, or something like that, and the speed of Mercury. Which kind of bothers me because they technically do all these Greek names and then they use the Roman name, but whatever.
It just works.
Well, I mean, that and Hermes is pretty close to herpes.
Yeah.
And so, he plucks the demons and then he takes them back to the Rock of Eternity and they put it back. And then they realize that the Rock of Eternity is their lair. And finally, Billy realizes he has a home. And it ends with him finally doing what Freddy wanted him to do, to sit at lunch with him.
As
Captain Shazam. And
all of a sudden Superman
he's like, I also
in.
invited a friend, and he somehow invited Superman.
Who they never show the face of because they're like, we don't know if Henry's coming back or not.
Yeah, we're going to have to recast Henry. And the movie ends, of course, but then we have a couple of...
There's one after credit scene.
Yeah, where he tries to talk to Fish because...
Aquaman.
And There's one other scene where we see Sobek doing a Jeremiah Arkham where he's writing all the symbols because he's trying to get the sins to come back, but of course they can't because he needs to get the eye back, and then he failed. And then eventually he hears a weird voice talking to him like, "Oh, it's such a cute way the humans always try to use the arcane powers of which I wrote. Savannah, I'm going to show you a much more greater power." And it's the caterpillar from...
It's Mr. Mind.
Yeah, who's a caterpillar who has a little voice box that he talks through.
Who isn't executed and stuffed like he is in the original Fawcett comics at the end of that 26-issue run.
Well, yeah, because because eventually Dr. Mind comes back and back and back.
As everyone does.
In fact, I remember him mostly from 52, where he turns into a giant caterpillar monster and devours time and space and causes more messing up of the multiverse, which reduces it to 52 Earths.
Main villain for Spider-Verse confirmed.
And of course, that's how the film ends, implying that Mr. Mind and Savannah are going to be the villains.
Basically sets it up for a sequel, because they're going to. They've already greenlit Aquaman 2. Shazam 2 is going to be greenlit within, I give it a month and a half.
Oh, I don't know.
They'll say it's greenlit.
Because I'm pretty sure this movie's doing really well, because it's...
DC is actually finally on track again, because they had Wonder Woman, which was great.
Aquaman, which I've heard...
Justice League was, in my opinion, a natural disaster. And then Aquaman was great, and now this is great. So they need to keep this trend because they're actually making good movies finally again.
Yeah. So yeah, in my opinion, I think this is where, because it tries to be its own thing without. I mean, I will admit,
it tries to do a Marvel. It tries to do an Iron Man, basically.
I mean, yeah, but it's not super light. It's not like some of the lighter stuff Marvel does, but it's much.
And there's some dark stuff in here.
Yeah,
I mean, that scene where the boardroom gets
that was
massacred.
basically the scene where the arms murder people in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
I almost thought Sam Raimi was directing this movie.
Maybe he did. I'll have to look it up. He might have had a role or something. Maybe he was a consultant.
I think it's very much it. I think this is where DC's finally found its footing. It's nice to have something where it's just fun, and it gives you what you want from comic books. It's not trying to be gritty realistic like Batman. It's not trying to be Batman, which has been DC's biggest problem.
They've tried to emulate the Nolan trilogy for almost a decade now, and they finally realizing it's not going to work.
They've tried to make everything Dark Knight, and you can't do that. This was fun because it's a story about a little kid who can become become Superman who
achieves his true potential.
Yeah. It doesn't need. I'm not saying it should be completely lighthearted romp, but I'm not saying you can't do like Batman v Superman with this. You can't make it ultra super dark.
Do you bleed? You will.
Because I think DC's kind of realizing that they can't just rely on the 40-year-old comic book guys forever if they want to make money.
Yeah.
You have to start making stuff for a younger audience, because you can't rely on the old audience forever. They get old. They stop buying this stuff. They have a family. They die.
The guy who writes that Spider-Man column you sent me about, the one about Mary Jane and all the love interests, it's like, he told me he quit writing because he had a family.
Yeah. Like we grow up. I mean, granted, some of us still enjoyed the comics and the movies, but we can't buy it as much as we used to because we got to buy it for our kids. Honey,
I bought another comic for the kid.
Yeah.
It's actually for me.
It's actually for me, but the kid can enjoy it too. But it was nice. It was nice to actually go into a DC movie and know I was going to enjoy it. And people were telling me I was going to enjoy it.
It started out a little dark. I mean, we were like, oh no, it's DC dark for dark. Here we go.
I mean, to be fair, it was dark for a reason, and I thought that.
And then as soon as the color explodes, my God, they actually had to use color in this.
Yeah,
now.
But like I said, I think this was really good. My only real plot holes were how Mary knew that those were sins in his eye, because I don't think she they was ever brought up. I don't even think Billy himself really knew that.
No, it's not even really brought up. I told you my thing is it's either it's a plot hole, or B, she just figured it out on her own.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Mary's smart, but I mean, to be fair, that's almost like I'm. How are you so smart? I read the script.
Older, smarter, prettier.
This is. But in summary, I thought it was very good. I think this is finally I think finally DC's found its footing, where it can be dark, and it's giving us what we want. I don't know, Batman and Superman was so bad, and I don't know how they could do that, because in the 90s they were able to do it right with Batman, Superman, World's Finest.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I own Batman v Superman on Blu-ray.
No, I'm sure you do.
I've never watched the whole thing. I get to the middle of it, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's so
It's hard to get through.
It is. I had more fun watching Batman and Robin.
So in summary, I think it was very good. I think it's worth your money. I actually think it's kind of better than Marvel's Captain Marvel. Like, just because it's about Shazam.
Whereas, like, kind of how we discussed in the Captain Marvel review is that Captain Marvel is really... It's not really much of a Carol movie. It's more of a setup to Endgame. And this is more so a film about Shazam and about Billy.
Like, sure, they bring up DC, like they bring up the Justice League buffs. They bring up Superman is back. They bring up Batman,
Wonder Woman.
But like, it's just, hey, we live in this universe and we can reference stuff.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, I have issues with Marvel doing that because a lot of times it just feels like they're setting up for the next movie instead of being like, hey, we're in a universe.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's natural. And
that's not ragging on Marvel. It's not ragging on Captain Marvel. I still love Captain Marvel too.
It's just what I think
that was a fundamental issue with the movie.
And I think what a fundamental issue with Marvel in general is because there's our movies, and the reason they're bad is because they just feel like setup.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that was a big problem for like DC up to Justice League.
That's why I'm kind of glad after Infinity War they're going to slow it down. I'm like, make movies about just the characters. Don't have them be connected, but don't have it be this one sets up this one. This one sets up that one.
You could be like, hey, I run into Iron Man, or hey, I have lunch with Iron Man, or like, sorry, I keep saying Iron Man, but like, you could do stuff like that. Like, where like you do
as an example. I RP on Tumblr. I write Mary Jane primarily from the Raimi films, and I have a thread with one of my friends, and she mentioned, because she writes Gwen, and this is Gwen from Spider-Gwen universe. She is in the Raimi one in this one because of the multi-time travel stuff, dimension traveling.
Yeah.
And Gwen mentions in the thread, I need to find your Peter because in this thread that Peter is missing.
Yeah.
And I know you guys don't have a whole lot of heroes in this universe to protect you. And I had my MJ reference, not unless you want to call the Fantastic Four. Like, that's how you do it. You slide in references.
Yeah, no, like
you don't make it so that the Fantastic Four suddenly show up.
It's kind of sad how, like, Joel Schumacher could do that better, like in Batman and Robin, where he has Batman go, this is why Superman works alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? That's all I need.
It's an off the cuff.
Like, you can even just be like, like, how when someone be like, we live in a world where a man can leap tall buildings in a single bound and get shot by bullets and nothing phases him. We live in a society. You stop that. Oh, I'm not looking forward to when that Joker movie comes out. Like,
we're gonna need to see it. We know you are.
I don't even know if I really want to go see it.
I'll pay for you to go see it. I'll buy your ticket.
It's like, I'm just so fed up with with just how people view the Joker in general.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, like, I think this is a good movie. I do think it's better than Captain Marvel, but only because I think it's much more
it's a self-contained film.
It's a self-contained film about the character. And I'm sure when we get Captain Marvel 2, it's going to be about Carol.
Yeah.
It's just in fact, I even think that Marvel did it because they weren't sure she was going to do well, which is disappointing, even because like DC has Wonder Woman.
Haters tears.
Yeah. But in general, I think that's my closing thoughts. Go see it. I think it's very good.
I also agree. I give it a 9 out of 10. Definitely one of the better DC films.
I'd probably give it an 8.5, but just more because like I said, I think there's a few points where like
I'm going off of Wonder Woman. In my opinion, was a 10 out of 10. This is damn near close to it. That's why I give it a 9 out of 10.
I'll give it a 9. Let's round up. I'll give it a 9. I thought it was pretty acceptable.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I'm easy to please though.
Yeah, sure. Truth be told, so am I. I was just trying. Like, did you notice that the film was kind of blurry in places? Or is that more than me? Because I felt my eyes were drying out. So, I
didn't notice it. It could have been. I didn't notice it at all.
And also, the part where it was kind of like there was like buzzy.
No, I saw that. I think that's the projector. That's either the projector or the film. That's probably the film.
And that's not me saying that the film cinematography is bad, because I thought the cinematography was pretty
honestly.
good
It's probably it could have been something on the lens for all.
It might have been. Because, like, I will admit, like, that was one of Snyder's problems when he was doing that. Like, he did really weird cuts, and he would just too much kinetic cinematography. And
I'm sure film snobs out there love that kind of bullshit, but a typical person that's watching a movie, we don't like that kind of crap. And I've done this as someone who's done video productions. I don't like that kind of crap.
No, I don't like it either. Like I'm like because like when I come to watch a movie, I want to actually see what's going on.
Yeah.
Like because I know people who complain about in like the Adventures of Tintin, where that scene where like it's like a one continuous scene where like Tintin's trying to grab that last bit of map and like they go through like this town, which I thought was great. I love that. That was an amazing piece of animation because that must have taken forever. That it was a Spielberg thing, like because he wanted to show like I animated this whole scene where they go through this town and there's not a single cut. It's all just one continuous camera as Tintin like goes through this like. It's really cool. I know people who don't like that, which I love the Adventures of Tintin. That's an amazing animated film.
When it comes to film, there are people that don't like certain things. Yeah, there are people that like certain things, and it goes for everything.
It's kind of why media criticism is kind of garbage because,
as a comms major, you know that.
Like, in my opinion, if you really like something, you should find someone who you think their opinion is as unbiased as it can be. However, you should go in knowing that our people's biases are different from person to person, and just.
It's like asking me to sit down and like, what's my opinion on the Iron Man movies? I don't really care for Iron Man as a character, so trust me, I'm not the one to ask because I'm biased because I'm not a fan of the character.
Yeah, and I'm the guy who's like Iron Man and Captain America are my favorite parts of the Avengers.
Yeah. You know, bias is something you always gotta be aware of.
Heck, he doesn't think Homecoming is a super great film. He thinks it's okay, and I love Homecoming.
It's better than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
It is better than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That doesn't say much, but I think Spider-Man 3 is also better than
But then again, I kind of like it because I go in expecting that it's not the Peter I know, and it's all right. I will admit
it's another interpretation.
I will admit though it's not as good as Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse is Marvel's Mask of the Phantasm. I'm just gonna say that. No, I don't even care that it's written by Sony.
I agree.
It is Marvel's Mask of the Phantasm. But anyway, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Like I said, I think it's very good. I definitely think you should see it. I think it's definitely it's one more step in the right direction for DC. First Wonder Woman, then Aquaman. I definitely think that this is really good. I think it's very good. I'm looking forward to see what they do next, actually.
I just don't want to see them take 2 steps back now.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. So anyway, guys, I think that's gonna wrap this up for now. Hopefully in the coming days I'll be able to get you those Godzilla reviews I've been trying to get to. I know. I keep not getting to them. But I promise you I'm gonna buckle down doing that. And I will catch you all on the next one. Until then, I'm Zangetsu 134.
I'm AverageJoeSquad.
And I will catch you next time. Until then, take care.